everyone, and welcome to Night's Report, presented by Silver Summit Health Plan. Hope everyone's doing well. Still quarantining now in week number 7. Dave Gosher, Stormy Bonantoni, Dan Duva, Mike McKenna, Will Carrier joining us here on Night's Report. Great to have you with us. Will, what's been going on? You're kind of at a busy part of your life, right? A new father. The quarantine hits. What have the last 7 weeks been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it hit exactly when Stella was born. I mean, we were supposed to play in Minnesota, and she was born in the morning. And so, no, it's been kind of busy, learning process. But no, it's great.
Well, I can't imagine that this is how you expected the first several weeks of being a dad to unfold, but I in a certain way, a silver lining that you can be at home to spend time with the family here rather than being on the road.
Yeah, and we looked at the last couple of stretch we had where we were on the road a lot, and I wasn't looking forward to it, especially with the newborn. But no, it's kind of been kind of lucky for me, with everything going on, just to be home.
I'm curious, Will, what was that just 24-hour period like, though? You said that she was born the day before the NBA suspends its season. Then you get the news the next day that the NHL suspends it, all while you've got the excitement of being a new dad and not really knowing what's going on.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy a couple of days. We landed from, I think it was Edmonton or Winnipeg. It's been so long. And we went straight to the hospital. So we kind of started the process to make sure, I was going to be in Minnesota. But it kind of went a little longer. It ended up happening the morning of the game, so I had a flight scheduled to go to Minnesota to play with the team, and I called George, and he said, "Well, it doesn't look like no one's going to play tonight, so we'll just put you on standby." So I was kind of waiting home, and when we got the announcement that all the team was coming back to Vegas, we were like, "Okay, all right." So it was kind of an ideal situation for me.
Kind of a good bounce too, because now you get a chance to actually dig in on being a father. And I want to know how your diaper changing skills are. I've had 2 kids myself, they're out of them finally, but what's your speed like right now?
It's actually at 4 a.m. in the morning. It's really fast now. I think I can tell. No, it's pretty good. It was slow first, but I was kind of used to it growing up. I had a little brother, and I used to do that, so it wasn't that bad. But no, it's definitely a learning process.
How do you balance your days, Will? I think we've all tried to, develop some sort of a routine in these strange times. A new father, you're still, I'm sure, trying to stay in shape. What's a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a 4 a.m. wake up call for an hour just to get her to drink. But after that, you can normally wake up around 8 or 9 and you eat breakfast or work out or be by the pool. The weather is nice around here, so it's kind of great. I was talking to a couple guys around the league where I guess if you're in Winnipeg or Calgary, it's a little different. So no, it's been good around here.
Will, how about your favorite pastime, fishing? With the baby and the quarantine, is there any opportunity to get out and cast a line?
They closed Lake Mead for some reason. If I could get my word out there, I don't really know why they closed the boat ramp because Arizona's still open. But yeah, they closed in Nevada, so I think no one's allowed to go out there. But I've been kind of busy, so I was planning on going out there probably with Gary this summer, but we're waiting for the boat ramp to get open.
Nate Schmidt was saying that he was asked who he thought on the team wasn't handling the pause very well in terms of somebody that likes to get out there. And he's like, "Oh, well, Will Carrier loves to fish, loves to do all that stuff. So I'm worried about him right now."
Yeah, I mean, I look at the boat. The boat's in the garage. Every time I get out there, I'm like, "Holy!" I can't remember last time I didn't go fishing for that long. But I mean, I'm kind of home. It's kind of good because we kind of you get only 2 or 3 hours of sleep in a row, so you're kind of a little tired. But I'm looking forward to go probably in the next couple of months if they decide to open stuff up.
Yeah, how different is it then? Go ahead, Stormy.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, when you joined us, Will, you were talking about how you were having this big beard going on. I'm curious if there's anybody else on the team when you do those team meetings that we wouldn't recognize right now.
A lot of guys need some haircut. That's for sure. Beard, not so much, but Stoney's already had some crazy hair. Now it's getting pretty wild. So now a couple of guys are definitely need to go to the barber before season starts back.
It makes you wish that when you do come back, they take the team picture right away. To immortalize what it's been like during the break. My hair is starting to grow like Ned Braden in Slapshot. It's going outward like this.
Yeah, like the after. I'm sure a couple guys. I'm sure before everything opens and we start doing an interview, I'm sure guys will clean up a little bit so we don't look that too funky.
Yeah, well, talking about hockey really quick, I mean, this season has been something of a breakout for you in terms of points, 7 goals, 12 assists. I mean, you've got career highs in both of those. You've had the opportunity to go up to, play third, second line minutes at times. Has it been a really fun season? And then on top of that, to be rewarded and have a contract extension, it must be an exciting time for you as a player right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great. I'm at that, that time in career where, I'm 25 years old now. I'm kind of reaching my peak and, trying to want to stay there. So, yeah, no, it's good. I think it's all about confidence, a couple of years in the league and, get 200 games and you just start playing with confidence and having the coach behind you so it's been working good and our line's been good this year.
Will, right now there's been a lot of different, theories thrown out there as to if and when you guys are going to be able to get back and play. What are your thoughts on that, and what do you think that might look like?
Yeah, I mean, they keep talking about it. I mean, I didn't really follow up. I normally call Revo once a week. He normally tells me what's going on at the league because I feel like every day there's some rumor going around about some new stuff happening, and sometimes we're going to play, we're not. We got the memo that they might open the facility to maybe start skating in May or in start of June. So kind of looking forward to that just to get back on the ice. But it's in the air. I think no one really knows what's going on.
And just in terms of the guys, and is it Zoom calls, group texts? You guys are together all the time during the season, and now there's this. We can't be together. You guys can't be together. How do you bridge that gap?
It was kind of good the first week. Everyone was like, okay, now you get a week off, but after that, guys start wondering what's going on, and guys wants to start training. But I mean, obviously, yeah, we do have everyone's on the group chat, and there's some jokes going around and stuff, and guys are still playing tricks and stuff. But I mean, it's we can't really do nothing, and obviously the guys are all used to be together, and they're looking forward to get back in the gym. So hopefully, next couple of weeks they'll let us go to the rink.
Will, I'm curious about that because at some point there's going to be hockey again, and when hockey does resume, who do you think is going to be closest to form? Will it be the younger guys, the older guys, the goalies, the defensemen, the skaters? Who's going to be able to get back into it quickest, and who's going to have the hardest time?
I think guys like me or Revo, guys that probably play more of a grinder game. We're not losing much. We just need to get out there and skate. I think guys like Carlson, guys with skills, I think they're going to need a couple more weeks to get back into it. So I think those top players are not liking to be off the ice and, just training in the gym. I think these guys like to be, Marchie, I know, likes to be on the ice and shooting pucks. So, I think those guys are going to be, it's going to be more tough for them.
Just to kind of follow up on that, what are some of the challenges for a guy like you who does have more of that physical role? And you were having such a good season to have that all come to a halt and then have to reboot it up again.
Yeah, especially we kind of don't know when we're going to, boot it up again. Normally at this time of the year, if you're out of the playoff, you're normally taking a couple of weeks off and, working out in the start of June and working your body right back to be ready in October when the first game starts. But right now it's like we've been kind of cruise control and trying to keep the shape, but it's really not the same. Biking, you can bike as hard as you want, and any player will tell you that you can't really keep gain shape. So obviously once the season or once they tell us we can get back to the rink, we'll need at least like 10 days to just get the system to get back to it.
Yeah, it's got to be feeling like this kind of strange off season where you can't really work out, but the time frame is meeting up with it right now. Have you taken on any new hobbies just to fill time, or TV shows or anything to keep your day feeling somewhat sane?
Yeah, I mean, we have like a couple. Obviously, we start with like TV show. With the baby was a little younger, but now she's kind of awake and she can play around, and we got a play park and stuff. And obviously, I painted in the room, so that was like a wee project. So we're kind of looking around and trying to find some project to do because kind of out of ideas right now.
Now, you rated highly on teammates thinking that you'd be a handyman around the house. You and Nick Holden, I remember, were both really high on that list.
Yeah, I mean, we can work around. I mean, obviously, I moved in a new place here, so I had a couple stuff that I wanted to change. So it was kind of a good timing.
Well, Will, we appreciate your time very much. Before we go, what have you been doing with your left hand during this whole interview?
The baby, she's yeah, she is. She's
We're gonna
rocking.
peek.
Oh,
that's
that's the best part.
There's Stella.
We can toss out the rest of the interview. Just put it on there.
Yeah, so
put it on
as soon as
Stella.
if you stop for half a second, she'll just start crying. So that's
Will.
what I've been doing the entire time. That anyone with kids needs that. It's just you can just push it with one hand and do that all day.
Oh, that's
great.
fantastic. That's great stuff. Well, Will, thanks for your time. Thanks, Stella, as well. This is she was really this might be her first interview. You're kind of like
Stella's
her.
debut.
She is, yeah.
What a
she's,
moment.
Talking about show, yeah.
That's great. Will, thanks so much. We hope
Thanks,
we can see
Will.
you in person soon.
Thank you.
Well, thanks to Will Carrier and Stella. Stella made the whole show already.
What a
Absolutely.
cutie.
Perfect ending.
Here on Night's Report. So Dave Gosher, Dan Duva, Mike McKenna, Stormy Bond, and Tony still with you. Interesting guys that, the Golden Knights have, well, I don't know if they've completed their third season just yet, but, this regular season is pretty far down the road. They have not had a captain in the history of this team. And recently, Pete DeBoer joined Dan and Gary Lawless on our podcast. And Dan asked Pete, how's that going to work as they move forward? And are they going to elect a captain or name a captain? And here's what Pete DeBoer had to say.
Well, I think you have to take a little trip in history a little bit, because I was enlightened to it too when I got here. I think the reason we didn't have a captain in Vegas to begin with was the identity of this team. Basically coming out of expansion, you were getting all these guys that were left unprotected or traded for, was that the strength of the team was going to be in the group. I think 4 years into that now, maybe going into 5 next year, the question is, has someone stepped forward where you can change that philosophy? We've established our identity as a team and how we want to play. I'm a believer in a captain. I think we have a lot of candidates in that dressing room. I'm still getting to know the group. But that's something that I'll have to discuss with Bill Foley and George and Kelly and see what their feeling is on it.
Pete, just to follow up on that, and having been a head coach at different levels and with a few different NHL teams, what is a process normally like for a team to choose its captain? What is that decision-making process like in your experience?
Well, I think everybody's different, right? I've got a son who plays university hockey. I believe they took a team vote, an anonymous team vote on it. The way I've always done it has been I've made the decision, but I do it in consultation with my assistant coaches, with the leadership group, but more importantly, with being around the group long enough that you get to know them and someone steps forward. And I can tell you they're not easy. When I named Joe Pavelski captain, you got to remember you had Patrick Marleau and Joe Thornton, who both wore the C at different points for San Jose, sitting in the dressing room at that point. And we still named Joe captain. So they're never easy, and you always have a group of guys that could take that role. But for me, there's always someone that steps forward a little bit, and it's just getting to know the group long enough to figure out who that is.
Interesting thoughts from Pete DeBoer about the future and, maybe having a captain of the Golden Knights as we move forward. Mike, from your standpoint as a former player, and Pete kind of got into a couple of different scenarios, but he basically said he picks the captain in consultation with others. What's been your experience as a player over the years?
Well, very much in line with what Pete DeBoer described, saying that, hey, I take into account leadership, but ultimately it's up to me. And really what that comes from is, you can let the players decide who they think is the captain, and it's going to be a good example and a good person of who could probably do so. But the coach really has to have the temperature of the room when it comes to this. He has to know who's going to be the guy in that room. Now, the players are all usually very aware of who it is. And I really respect how the Golden Knights have gone about this process, too. They've waited for someone to emerge. And of course, being an expansion team, it's a unique scenario, right? You're at a point now where you've got people who are on contracts, and you want somebody who you think is going to be with this team for a long time. So Pete's very much in line with what I've seen previously. It always goes beyond the players to the coaching staff. And especially at the National League level, you are talking about general manager involved, owner in some cases playing a big part in this. And for good reason. They're so invested in the team that they want to make sure that the right face is presented, that they can utilize that they know is going to handle the media well in the first place, on top of being able to take care of things in the room. So, Pete really described what I've seen previously and also what I think works best. So kudos to him. I think that's the right process and way to go about it.
You know, Dan, they've had really, I guess for lack of a better way to put it, some de facto captains right over the last few years. You know, you think of Derek Anglin, you think of Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, Marc-Andre Fleury's a huge voice in that locker room. They've had 8 different players by our count this year, be it exhibition season or regular season, that have had a letter on their jersey. But it seems like they certainly don't lack for leadership, but there will come a point where, you know, someone's going to have to wear that C as they move ahead.
Right, and that was something that was talked about at the very beginning. George McPhee having said, we have 23 captains, and Pete DeBoer recognizes that history. He talked about that was the identity of the team, but now 3 years going into 4 and 5, the identity is a little bit different now. They have figured out more about what this group is going to be going forward. And, you know, just because someone has a personality that connects with a fan base doesn't make that person necessarily the captain. It could be someone who's rather understated. Like Riley Smith has been a consistent A, but his personality is not one that jumps off the page. Like, he's not the first guy I think fans would think of as a captain or an alternate captain. So there really is an essential importance on what Pete DeBoer said in getting to know the room. And he's been with the team only for a little while. And like you said, Mike, you know the room. Like the room knows who the leader is. And Pete's got to get a feel for that. And as time evolves. And then the other interesting thing is having made hard decisions in the past. He talked about naming Joe Pavelski in San Jose, even though he had veterans like Patrick Marleau and Joe Thornton sitting right there who had previously been captains, just like, say, Max Pacioretty had been a captain in Montreal.
It's interesting, too, Stormy, and you look around the league and you know, captains of other teams, and you think of a Sidney Crosby, you think of a Zdeno Chara, for instance, just off the cuff. Usually it's those guys that, I mean, they set the tone, right? Every day, practice, morning skates. This is how we're going to play. This is how we're going to, you know, conduct ourselves. This is how we're going to go about our business. So, you know, it might not always be, I don't know, your best player on the team, but it is going to be somebody that's going to set the example on a day in, day out basis.
Yeah, and I think there are different types of leaders too, which is why I think Pete DeBoer said, you know, there are a number of candidates, because there are people that lead by example. There are people that lead vocally. And I think another part that's important to being a captain and being a leader is being somebody that can be forthcoming to the media after those tough days and after those tough games, and who has the personality that can handle that type of an environment as well. And I dovetail off of kind of what Dan said about how there were the 23 captains and the misfits and all of that. Just because you institute a captain doesn't necessarily mean that leadership by committee is fully going away either. I think that that's an important identity part of this team for a reason. But just because you've done something one way in the past doesn't mean you can't evolve. You know, some people might say, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I mean, something was missing in this team for there to be a coaching change. And if the coach believes that captains are something that works, which he's shown that it has worked with a guy like Zach Parise when he was in New Jersey, and Joe Pavelski in San Jose went to Stanley Cup finals with both of those teams under that directive. So if it's something that works for him, and if it's something that ultimately will work, if one does show up becoming that alpha in the team, then why not do it?
Mike, in your playing days, and they're not that long ago in the rearview mirror for you, not at all. Not even a year.
He's still practicing with the team.
Occasionally. Still out there. Who was the best captain you had?
Oh man, that's such a hard question. You know, I think of, there's a player I was with in Peoria named Scott Ford. And this guy, I'll never forget, he showed up at Thanksgiving at my house. He probably ate 2 logs of salami and had 2 bottles of wine single-handedly. And the next morning he was on the bike at 6:30 cranking. And everybody in the room looked at this guy and went, wow, this guy is the guy. We took every word he said with gospel. You know, he had guys afraid to wear sweatpants to the ring, wearing jeans there, you know? So from that standpoint, he always sticks out when I get asked that question. And, you know, again, you need to have one guy, one voice that you can really lean on. And again, the leadership by committee thing it can work at times, and especially early in this, in the Golden Knights' existence, the players all know who the leaders are in the room. Everybody here, let's not kid ourselves. You know, if you ask them, they'll single people out. But no team's won a Stanley Cup since 1972 without a captain. So I really do believe, as a former player, that having one voice, one person you can look to in times of duress and times where leadership is really needed, that single unifying voice can be huge. And that's why it's so important to make the right decision on it.
Mike, can I ask you a question about that? Because, you know, we talked about 8 guys this season, including preseason and regular season, who've worn an A. Stone, Smith, Stastny, Schmidt, Englund, McNabb, Pacioretty, Marchessault. You know, there's one of those guys is relatively new to the Golden Knights. That's Mark Stone, and you were teammates with him just last year in Ottawa. So I think that a lot of people will look to Mark. You know, he wasn't the captain in Ottawa, but, you know, now he's a little bit older, different circumstance. You know, what you could tell us about Mark and his qualities in that department.
Well, Mark Stone was the de facto captain in Ottawa when I was there. And I actually think it was somewhat harmful in some way. This may not be the right word, but for him not to have the letter on, because it can kind of restrain you if you're not that person, right? The moment you get the letter on your chest, you are the guy and your word goes. And that's powerful in a very good way. But as far as Mark Stone as a leader, what you see on the ice is what you see every day. In the locker room, the passion, very understated, can handle the media very well. But he's honest too. You don't want a fake to go up there and stand in front of everybody and tell the media what they want to hear. You need somebody who can take the team to task when necessary, and a team to pump up, and a guy who can pump up his teammates when they deserve it. And that's what it comes down to. You need the ultimate team player, but somebody who's also willing to be very, very honest in a very public setting.
And he's going to be here a long time, right, Stormy?
And that helps.
Yeah, he's a long time in the future.
Not that we're campaigning for Mark Stone by any means,
No.
but something else that I like about him, just in terms of being the ultimate team player, is, you know, kind of what he did in Ottawa for Brady Tkachuk, having him live with him here. Similarly, I'm pretty sure Cody Glass lived with him for a little while. Peyton Krebs took time there with him. Like, he's really willing to help along and help mold younger players as well, which I think is a very cool quality in him.
Yeah, and this is really, when we start discussing players in general, it's such a strength of the Golden Knights. As we've mentioned, when you went down the list, Dan, Pacioretty was the captain of the Montreal Canadiens, an American in Canada. And when you're in that locker room, you can just feel the sense of people who have such great hockey knowledge. Riley Smith, Stastny, people who work hard, McNabb, it's endless in there, which is such a strength of the team.
Well, they certainly have no lack of candidates, guys, to say the least. And it's something that as they move forward, and, you know, Pete DeBoer said it to you, Dan, it's, you know, as much as he makes a decision, it's George McPhee, it's Kelly McCrimmon, it's people that, you know, have been around this organization since day one that I think will all help him make the right choice. So certainly something they'll get to in the future. In the present, Stormy, what do you got worked up here? The rapid fire situation. This, if Stella isn't the highlight of the show, I always kind of enjoy this because it gets my brain to think a little bit.
So I want to give major props to one of our bosses, Eric Tosi, for this question. And it's primarily aimed at Dave Gosher.
Oh, no. This doesn't sound good.
It's got a lot more fun.
Everyone as a part of this conversation has very eclectic music taste. So if you had to get a tattoo of a song lyric, what lyric are you choosing and why?
Wow.
Right up my alley.
And I just thought that Dave would be great at this, because everybody knows on our road trips and everything, Dave Gosher's got the phone out, got the speakers playing music, singing to everything. What would be the one you'd imprint on your body?
Whether you want to hear it or not, I'm singing to everybody. That's a really good one. I don't know, maybe Born to Run, just because I'm such a huge Springsteen fan. And I think, so what's that? That's 9 letters. So I think it would be like minimal pain from a tattooing standpoint. You know what I mean? So I think probably that. I'm a huge Beatles guy too, but it's hard for me to pick, you know. I think Born to Run would have a lot of different meanings too. So that would probably be it for me, I think.
Born to Run was the first song you gave me on my list during
That's
this
right.
pause. He's been sending me text messages of like a song to listen to every couple days.
Yeah.
And
I think
Born
I
to Run
sent
was the first one.
I think Jungle Land was on that list too, Stormy. There's a lot more.
We're surrounded by
There's
Springsteen folks between Dan and Dave here.
Yeah. So I don't know, Born to Run, for lack of a better, I think that's just one of the first one that probably comes to mind anyways.
What about you, Dan?
Well, you may or may not know this. I have right beside me here a few Springsteen albums. Now, Dave knows this, and you can see even more over my shoulder. I rotate these albums every night's report that we do. I have a different series of Bruce Springsteen albums on display. And in fact, one of them, Dave helped me pick yesterday we talked about this. Born to Run just happened to be one of the records Dave asked me to put here. So, Dave, I can go through all the lyrics right here.
There you go.
You guys should just get matching Born to Run tattoos.
Yeah.
Just walk in and get the group
That's
discount.
incredible.
Those are the first three Springsteen albums right there.
That's exactly right. The Wild, the E Street Shuffle, Greetings from Asbury Park, and then Born to Run. So I will, Stormy, I don't know. I could go on with the Springsteen songs forever. So I'm just going to randomly pick one opening lyric. Let's go Backstreet's One Soft Infested Summer. How about that?
Like it?
I could be here all day. We could do a whole show on what lyrics I would want to tattoo. Not that I would get
He's
a
gonna
tattoo,
have a full
but
body.
yeah, that's the trouble. I'm a little bit verbose, and so I would need like my whole back probably. I might need to. I mean, there you go. You just take all the lyrics from Born to Run. It's the best rock and roll album in history, as far as I'm concerned. So, you could pick any line in there, and I think I'd be okay with it.
Better get comfortable in that tattoo chair.
Yeah, especially if you're going to get infested tattooed on you.
Yeah, as long as Blinded by the Light has
true.
some strange lyrics. I'm not sure Blinded by the Light, Dave, would be the
No, that's
way
not
to
what
go.
you're looking for.
No.
You
not
don't
at all.
have a tattoo on your body, but if you got a phrase, it would have the word infested on it. That's what I think. I'm
good.
with you, Mike. That's funny.
It's unique. It's certainly unique.
Hey, who has a tattoo, by the way, in the group? Mike, Stormy?
Oh,
Nothing.
McKenna
Mike,
does.
McKenna, you got. Yeah, I was going to say you've got some going. Okay.
Yeah, I think Shane and I are probably leaders in the clubhouse when it comes to tattoos amongst the crew.
Do you have any song lyrics on you?
Honestly, this is actually right up my alley because I've considered this one for a long time. I don't have any script or words on me, but for a long time I wanted to get Strength Beyond Strength tattooed on me, and it's. I'm a metalhead, ladies and gentlemen, big metalhead. Pantera, Strength Beyond Strength. It's a song of theirs. And honestly, I have no idea what Phil Anselmo and the crew was thinking when they wrote that, what the meaning was. But to me, the symbolism of it was always that your mental strength can persevere and go past any physical strength. You can get past anything. So I always took it as my career. I needed to be mentally stronger than everybody else. And my physical stature was never great. So I had to rely, hopefully, on being able to outthink things at times. But that was it. Strength Beyond Strength. And it still may happen someday if I decide to put any script on me.
Stormy,
I
what
love
do you got?
that. It's deep. I don't know. I'm not a tattoo person, but like just on myself, they scare me. Like I don't do well with pain, but
They do
the
hurt.
The first thing that came to mind was like it's like a screamed lyric from this band Bring Me the Horizon, and it says like I will never sleep because sleep is for the weak, and I just think that's a really good one. But it's like I will never sleep.
You want to compare death metal growls? This is great. I never expected this out of you, Stormy. Fantastic.
Whoa, yeah. No.
That's incredible.
Okay, I could go like Genie in the Bottle or something instead, but that was
we got all
the
kinds of
first one that came to
Springsteen
mind.
lyrics here for you, Stormy. We could just we could provide some for you.
I felt like I had to go with my gut on that one. I don't know. I like Incubus. Maybe like Are You In? That could be a good one. Like Is everyone is in? Are you in? I'm the only one singing my song. Okay.
Turning into karaoke here.
Can we be done with this show now? Can we?
Yep.
just
That
sign
about
off?
wraps it up, Stormy. This has been just wonderful. Yep. Well, thanks again, Will
Here for the
Carrier.
people.
Yes, Stella. Thanks for this question, Stormy. This has been fantastic. And thank you all for joining us. Night's Report brought to you by Silver Summit Health Plan. And of course, please stay safe. We'll talk to you next time on Night's Report. Take care.